I'm about to go live. Peace, peace. Love and light, family. What's up? This is Chief Kalanago with a live video. Live in a minute. Let me just check, make sure audio is good. Get a check on audio. All right. Give me 1 second, please. I'm using my hotspot on my phone, so peace. All right, good. Audio is good. And as I make this happen for y'all, I have a lot of information that I want to share today. So please bear with me. I'm gonna give some people some more time to chime in, so we could move forward with this live video. I will not be spending too much time looking at the chat, so to speak, because it's a lot of information and I really got to stay focused. So please don't take any disrespect if you have any questions or any concerns that I'm not addressing in the chat. It's not because I'm ignoring you. It's just because I want to really get with this. And like I said, I don't have a lot of hotspot on my phone, so I want to disseminate as much as the information that I can. Let me make my disclaimer: videos are always for educational purposes only, but not limited to. It's for indigenous people all around the world, because we, the indigenous people, have to wake up. Just wake up, but waking up and getting out of bed is two different things. So you see, some people wake up and they still stay in bed, and they stretch and they turn and they yawn and they may go back to sleep. But I'm talking about the waking up in the context of waking up and putting your feet off the ground. Get off the bed, stand up, do some stretches, brush your teeth, and let's make some moves. Type of getting up that I'm talking about. So instead of waking up, I'm gonna say get up and let's put in this work, because the time is now. This is literally a call to action to unite the entire Americas. Information, and once again, everything that I say, you could literally go prove or disprove it yourself. All the information is public information, so please do your searching and then do your in search. All right, because everything I say, you could literally go find out whether it's true or not. So one of the reasons for doing this is because I realized that especially people in the so-called Caribbean, in the smaller countries, they are not aware that the United States is not America. A lot of people are under the impression when the world say America, people think it's the entire continent. America is a continent. The United States of America is a country that was created and formed in the Americas, and the United States, in all caps, is a corporation that was established in the States of America that is in the Americas. Those are three different entities, and people have to learn the difference. So it really alarms me when you have so-called Caribbean people saying that they're going to America when they are already in America. To you today, and what prompted me to do this video or gave me motivation, of course, I mean, because I love my people. That's one. I have a passion for what I do, and my ancestors sent me here to do the work and to restore their legacy. Allow me to share my screen and to show you what's pretty much happening. I don't look at the news, but this came across my not my laptop, my phone, and I thought it was important to share that information with you. So I'm going to share it with you, and we will take it from there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into current news. Some of the things that Donald Trump is talking about. Remember how to share the screen here. Second, family, bear with me for a second. All right, so here we go. Okay, to everyone, you guys will see two screens, but just pay attention to the one on the right. Okay, it's right here, and you guys could do the research. All the links are in the link below. Okay, now this is okay, it's yahoo.news/Trump. It says that Trump slams protections for immigrants and he called them shithole countries. Now, a lot of people may hear the term shithole, what that means, but if you allow me to, you may, I'm going to of hole. Wow. But sometimes you have to go look at the meaning of things. Shithole is a word. It's a compound word, but it is a word. Per Google, a dictionary, it says an extremely dirty, shabby, or otherwise unpleasant place. That is what President of States Corporation is calling in the Caribbean, okay, or in South and Central America. Again, shithole, an extremely dirty, shabby, or otherwise unpleasant place. Now, I'm going to let you listen to what Trump, it's not a long video, but we're going to listen to that. End immigration from shithole countries. Please, because I'm using my hotspot. President Trump does not want to protect immigrants from shithole countries. Why are we having all these people from shithole countries come here? Source, the Washington Post. Trump reacted when lawmakers raised the idea of protecting immigrants. Insisting that the U.S. should bring in more immigrants from countries like, what he said, from Norway. Days earlier, President Trump said he wanted an immigration bill of love.
It should be a bipartisan bill. It should be a bill of love. Truly, it should be a bill of love.
So this is I'm sticking, but you get, you pretty much get the essence of what he's saying. He's saying that, okay, let us not bring in immigrants from the shithole countries, but let us more bring in Norway. If I'm mistaken, those are not our people. Okay, those are immigrants. But let us read just a little bit. It says, office meeting with lawmakers on Thursday, President Trump described Haiti and African nations as shithole countries and slammed the idea of restoring protection for immigrants from those regions. Having all these people from shithole countries come here, the president said, sources told the Washington Post, suggesting the U.S. should welcome more immigrants from countries like, well, let us speak on Haiti for, you see, a lot of us don't realize what's going on. And before I even move on and speak of Haiti, I'm going to show y'all another clip the U.S. is putting out there. Really pay attention, because we in the Americas have to wake up, and not just wake up, but get up and start making some moves, because it's really important that we get this. If we don't, then it's going to be a problem. And people perish for the lack of knowledge. Responsibility to get you the knowledge. All right. It says Jamaica Observer. And it says that to exercise increased caution when traveling to America. So if Jamaica is in the Americas, which America are they talking about? But anyway, let's read. It says the United States, that's what they're talking about. You see, the United States is not America. Just like it's in America. The United States yesterday categorized Jamaica as level 2 advisory scale, warning Americans. Which Americans are you talking about? Because United States citizens are not Americans. To exercise increased caution when traveling to the island due to high crime. And I just wanted to show y'all this for a second. Being played on our people, and our people are not realizing the game that's being played. So about Haiti and Hispaniola and Jamaica. So now we're gonna get into Christopher Columbus. I'm gonna go somewhere with this. So please bear with me while I get my thoughts together. We're gonna read something from Christopher Columbus discovered America in 1492. Here we go. It says, Christopher Columbus discovers America in 1492. Now, if every time we speak of the United States, but we only equate America with the United States, but yet still Christopher Columbus didn't set foot in. So how is that Christopher Columbus discovered America in 1492? America are they speaking of? Because apparently, if Christopher Columbus, again, may I reiterate, if Christopher Columbus never set foot on the mainland, what is called the United States, how is that Christopher Columbus discovered America? About the United States, they think it's America. Again, I'm proving to you, I'm solidifying that the United States is not America. And the United States is a country in America, just like Jamaica, just like Haiti, just like Dominica, just like St. Vincent, just like Grenada, and just Cuba, his Dominican Republic, just to name a few of those countries. Christopher Columbus led his 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, out of the Spanish port of Palos on August 3rd, 1492. His objective was to sail west, the Indies, where the riches of gold, pearls, and spice awaited. His first stop was the Canary Islands, where the lack of wind left his expedition until September 6th. All right. This is establishing that when Christopher Columbus came to America, he first set foot in South and Central America, not on the mainland. It was considered and called the Indies, the Indians. Before, people on the mainland was called Indians. If you go back into history, and this is why I'm trying to explain to my Caribbean people, there's no coincidence why they call you Caribbean, Carib Indian. You in the name. There is no reason why there is no accident that they're calling Jamaicans, Dominicans, and all those people West Indians. They are telling you who you are. West Indian. They didn't say West African. They didn't say African Carib people. No, Carib Indian, meaning that you are the people of this land. You are the aboriginal people of this land, that we didn't come from Africa. Those in the description below with Columbus, so you can read it yourself. I'm not going to read everything. I'm just, again, trying to let things make sense to you. All right. So in 1492, he came, and he came to the Americas. First, he came to the West Indies, not the mainland. So how is that when United States speak of America, it only speaks of the United States? Trump is not the president of America, of a corporation in America called the United States. So I just want to make sure this is solidified. All right. The article. I'm proving stuff to y'all once more. Bartolome de las Casas describes the exploitation of indigenous peoples in 1492. Indigenous peoples in 1592, pardon me. Las Casas describes the exploitation of indigenous people. Bartolome de las Casas, a Spanish Dominican priest, wrote directly to the King of Spain, hoping for new laws to prevent the brutal exploitation of Native Americans. Quickly spread around Europe and were used as humanitarian justification for other European nations to challenge Spain's colonial empire with their own schemes of conquest and colonization. Now, this infinite multitude of men are by creation of God, innocently simple, altogether void of and adverse to all manner of craft, malice, and they say void of malice. That means, you know what that means? We were not a wicked people. We were not an evil people. We were void of that, loving people, and most obedient and loyal subjects to their native sovereigns, right? And behave themselves very patiently, submissively, and quietly towards the Spaniards to whom they are subservient and subject. In 1542, when they had already came into the land, all right, exploiting our people. The Spaniards came and started, fighting our people and conquering our land. So that article is there. I want you to read it yourself. Some information so that you guys could do your own research on that. Now let us go on to the sketches. A little bit from you guys before, but I want to read some of that some more. It's coming from the book called Ways, Mannerisms, and Custom of the North American Indian. Chapter 2 for you, just chapter 2, because the whole book is in the description. So it says, Indian account of the first arrival of the Dutch at New York Island. It says, the following simple and touching relation of this important event was taken down many since from the mouth of an intelligent Delaware Indian by Mr. Heck Wilder, and they may be considered as a correct account of tradition existing among them, a correct, account of tradition existing amongst them, meaning that the Indians, we, as much as possible in their own language. A great many years ago, when it says, when men with a white skin had never yet been seen in this land, some Indians who were out fishing at a place where the sea widens the great distance, something remarkably large floating on the water, and such as they had never seen before. Now, I want you to pay attention to where it says, a great many years ago, skin had never yet been seen in this land. Now, this is what I want you to, again, I like to show and prove things, and I like to do things so that a child understand and understand and overstand exactly what I'm saying. Now, we're talking about white skin, right? The pale people, pale skin, white skin, okay? So let me show you something real quick. We have to show and prove everything we talk about. We can't just talk. When we are teaching, we got to make sure we have substantial evidence to talk about what we're talking about. So let us look at pale people. Pale people. Let's look at pale people. Let us look at images of pale people. Now, those are people are considered white skin because nobody is white. I'm going to show y'all the difference. You see where I'm pointing my mouse? This is white. Do this woman look that color? No, because no one is really white. However, they are pale. This is images of pale people. We had never seen the likes of these people before. So what is that telling you? If we had never seen white or lights or not light skin, but pale people before, what is that telling you? That means the people who were there were dark people. Because the opposite of what you see gotta be you or something else. People tend to think when they say native, they're talking about the current people they call the so-called Indians right now. The so-called natives, but I have to tell the truth to the story of my ancestors and the people of my land, the American Aborigines. Okay, now we have pale people that are so-called Caucasians. Now let us look at pale natives. Pale natives. All right, bear with me. Once again, I'm using my phone. Now we're looking at pale natives, right? Look at this right here. Same Caucasian. Look, pale natives. I'm showing you again what pale looks like. Pale natives. Look, pale. So if our people had never seen any people of such complexion, and I'm going to show you again, a great many years ago, when men with white skin been seen in this land, had never, it didn't say we had seen some of them, it said had never. This is literally the key word right here. Never. And they called us. So the book right here, family, is here. I'm not going to read everything. I just wanted you to see that there for yourself. The book is in the link below, okay, for time purposes. And again, I'm using a hotspot, okay. The link is below. It's a great book, okay. Ways and Manners of the North American Indian. It's powerful. It has a lot of great information. So I just wanted to share that with y'all. So check that out, please. Go to another one. All right. I'm showing in proof today again, okay. Native Americans, the language of race and the evolution of the red and black peoples. Now, red man. I wonder why the rapper Redman call himself Red Man. Do you think because he's red? Do y'all know what the color of red is? All right, well, let us go. Let's use some common sense here. Red. Look at the color of red. Okay? This is red right here. You have different shades of red, but this is red for the most part, right? I have never seen an Indian look like this, not even the so-called natives that call themselves the red man, because again, everybody's making an attempt to take our place and replace us. But the red Indian. So let us talk about the red Indian color, okay? Red Indian crayon, Crayola red, that's what it's called. Indian crayon, here we go. Prove. So when they speak of the red man, the red Indian, this is what they are talking about. And you see, they used to have those schools, and they took it out because they didn't want the children to put two and two together. Okay, they discontinued making those crayons in school anymore. This is red, the Indian red R. Okay, our complexion, the brown, the dark people. You get what I'm saying? So I'm showing you all the proof of what I'm talking about when they speak of the red and the black people. We were not considered the black people. The black people were the so-called our cousins on the other continent called Africans. Man, not because we look red like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's because the undertone of our skin, okay, the blood is right below, so you could see that undertone. I got it. Now I'm going to show y'all something. My point again. The red fox. The red fox. Red American fox. Okay. Red fox. Red American fox. American fox. Now let me ask y'all a question. Do these fox look like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer with a red nose? Toned fox. Okay? Proof. I show y'all. American red fox, commonly known as the Eastern American red fox, is a north species of red fox. American species of red fox. It's an African, it's an American fox. And you see, they call it red, just like how they call us red. But are we actually red? Like red? The color? No. Of the skin. So I'm proving that again. Now let us go back to the Forbes, and we're going to read a little bit to let you see there's a difference between the red man and the black man, red people. Okay? I'm going to show and prove. And we're just going to read the introduction. You see, we're in school today. This is what the real school is. The real, you got your children in all these schools, they don't teach them that. Keep you nationless, make you foreigners and immigrants in your own home, call you shitholes. Okay? That's what y'all people did, right? Put a president of a corporation to treat y'all like that in your own land. But let us read here for a second, and I'm going to take my time with this. Okay? It says, volumes have been written about the historical and social relations existing between Europeans and the native peoples of the Americas, Europeans and Africans. But relation between the Native Americans and Africans have been sadly neglected. Now, apparently, if Africa have its native people, and they're telling you that America have its native people, and our ancestors are telling you that we have never seen the likes of this so-called white or pale people ever in our lives, and then you have natives looking like they're Caucasians, then who are these native people they're talking about? All of us natives right now because the federal government have adopted that term and giving it to the natives right now. So that term politically, it means that they are US citizens, they are property of the United States because that was created for them. A native. I am an American Aborigine. It says the entire Afro-Native American cultural exchange and contact experience is a fascinating and significant subject, but one largely obscured by a focus upon European activity and European colonial relations with peripheral subject peoples. Now it says, wow, Afro, did y'all hear that? No wonder why they call us Afro Americans, right? We are the so-called Afro-Native Americans. Afro. I have never seen the current native with an Afro. Question, who are these people they are talking about? If they are not Africans, because they are clearly making a distinction between them and the Africans, then who are they? Where did they come from? Did they magically drop from the sky and all of a sudden say, hey, you know what? I see you Africans. Can we be an African too? No. Here. We have been here. It says Africans and Americans, again, African and Americans, meaning that two different races of people be studied together without their relations always having to be obscured by the separations established through the work and scholars focusing essentially upon some aspect of European expansion and colonial. All right. So basically, what they're saying is that our story that's being told through the eyes of the European because of they want to expand into our home, as you hear Trump said, right? Let us stop allowing these shitholes to come in and let us get people from Norway. Again, that is the European expansion. Colonization is still alive, family. It is still alive. Anything different from what Columbus was doing. Nothing different from that. They are not doing nothing different from what the Moors were doing to us when they first came here. Okay? And I'm going to show you again that the Moors are different from us. Y'all going to learn today. It is especially important to note here at the very beginning of this study that those relations do not begin only in the Americas. On the contrary, they also take place, and this is where I'm at, and in Africa and perhaps also in the Pacific. In Europe can be seen as significant because both of the African and Native American ancestry there has tended to be absorbed into the general European society, and whatever earlier cultural developments have occurred have now become part of the modern European culture. The saying is that Europe is comprised of an African and a Native American culture. Europeans, so-called Europeans, Caucasians didn't have any culture. They took every culture from around the world, particularly America and Africa, and they created a new culture for themselves. Okay? And It's right here in bold. The impact, I'm right here now. So I hope you guys can see the cursor. The impact of non-European peoples upon European societies directly within Europe has not, as of yet, been fully explored. And of course, there is now a large new group of Native Americans and peoples of African background in Europe. You see, our story is told all over the world. On the page now, it says, relatively small but steady American presence in Africa from at least the early 1500s onward may well prove to be a vital area for future research, since one would expect to find Native American cultural influences regions such as Angola, Zaire, and Ghana, Guinea, Cape Verde, especially. It is, of course, interesting to note that some Africans were already exposed to American culture influences living Africa. Even before they so-called talk about their slave trades, Africans were already coming here experiencing our culture. We didn't start existing because the Caucasian man came to our land saying that we were discovered or they found us. No, we have been here. And we were trading with Asia and Europe and Africa way before land. So that has to be pointed out. Okay, the cultures brought Africans to Americas may already have been influenced, especially by Brazilian Native Americans. Go look at the original Brazilians. Like us, they look just like me. The extent of such cultural exchange will obviously have to be worked out in careful field research in Angola, Ghana, Guinea, Cabo Verde, and other places, as well as the archival records. You see, they have records of people in Angola, Ghana, Guinea, Cabo Verde, even places like Liberia, Sierra Leone, where our people went, and that was our culture. DNA people doing all this DNA test and telling you are from Africa. Guess what they are doing? They are testing American Aborigine population in that area, Africa. And that is the game that's being played on y'all. There is records that our American Aborigines were already in Africa and already was taken to Africa. And that's why a lot of them look like us. We don't look like them. No disrespect to our cousins on the African continent. Has a modest objective in that it seeks to introduce the subject and to primarily deal with a series of basic issues or questions which have to be resolved before proceeding to a detailed analysis of the precise nature of African-American relations. In keywords, 1976 has shown the importance of confronting the issue of meaning as a fundamental aspect of scholarship. This is where I'm at right now. I propose to apply his example to the basic terms which inform of African American contact and mixture, terms which are part of a non-clementure of developed under the colonial and racism. When first working with my own Powhatan, Renape, but it's supposed to be Lenape, Lila Lenape, not Renape, people of Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware and surrounding areas, I discovered that the meaning of the racial terms was a controversial issue. Again, I'm reading from the top here so you guys, you know where I'm at, okay? It says, let's see if I can make this a little bigger for you guys. So you guys could get this a little bigger. All right, so this is where we are at. I just want to make sure, and I'm happy I'm reading this and I'm doing that because a lot of our brothers hit me up and say, Chief, I'm doing it because I cannot read. And you know what? It's okay. I got y'all. All right, this is what I do. It says, I learned that terms such as mulatto, now let's look at the word mulatto, and colored were used in Virginia in a quite different way from their usage in most books, including modern dictionaries. I also discovered that many questions were not answerable within the context of the latter, such as, what do you call a person of mixed American, European, and African ancestry? No one provided any answer because it seems the American mixture with the African was generally subordinated to a focus upon, a fascination with, close bracket, only the black white nexus. The modern dictionaries all stated that a mulatto was the child of a black and a white, or someone of mixed black and white ancestry. But where did that leave those who were also part Indian? It reads, in any case, I discovered that Native American descendants had been legally defined as in 1705. It says, I discovered that Native American descendants had been legally defined as mulattoes in 1705 without having any African ancestry. 1705, we have already been here because guess what? Slaves from Africa didn't come into the United States until 1619. So literally in 1705, it is saying that the so-called red man that was here, we, us, the American Aborigines, okay, we were also called mulattoes without having any ancestry. That meaning that a lot of our great-great-grandparents were full-blooded Indians, full-blooded American Aborigines without any form of African ancestry. So for all you, the agents that are out here misleading our people, calling them black and African Americans, you see, I like to show and prove. This is about giving the truth, the knowledge, a come up, because that's what they're looking for, a come up. Let me continue. It says, that the dictionaries were wrong, and there was a lot that was hidden from view by the way most authors had written about the southern United States, about slavery, and about colored people. Oh, colored people. How many of y'all great-grandmother got colored on her birth certificate? Guess what? They are the pure-blooded Indians. But y'all gonna learn today, though. Covered also that the same thing was true as regards in the Caribbean. Brazil, and much of the rest of the Americas. So what you trying to tell me? That the people in the Caribbean as well was full-blooded Indians? Chief Kalanago, you are a full so-called blooded Indian, an American Aborigine? That people in Jamaica are American Aborigines and they are not from Africa? That people from Haiti, people from Dominican Republic, which was the same island, Hispaniola, got them fighting each other, making them think they're different people right now? In the whole world to get its independence, wasn't it Haiti? That's why they're destroying Haiti right now, because they don't want us, they know who we are. That's why they're talking about Jamaica and Haiti and calling them shithole countries right now, because they know once Jamaica get it and Haiti get it, it's a wrap. They know that. So they want to continue to demoralize us, dehumanize us to the world. So when they come with their plagues, the world will look at it and say, oh, well, you know what? The United States says, well, oh, these countries are bad. Don't fall into the propaganda, my brothers and sisters. Continent, we are one people. This is a call to action so that we all could unite and stand up and fight against these invaders, these parasites. Let us continue. It says, misconceptions is almost as important as the creation of new conceptions. It would seem, and this is nowhere more true than in the realm of race relations. So before one can seriously reconstruct Black African contacts, one must clear away a lot of mistakes. Mistakes arising from the very nature of discourse in a racist colonial setting, as well as mistakes arising from the assumption that the correct meanings assigned to racial terms have equally validity for the past. Now, if you go look at that clip Donald Trump spoke on, you will hear Donald Trump saying that I am one of the least most racist people in the world. So Donald Trump is not saying that he's racist. He's saying he's one of the least. But that's the entity that you people put in office. You got running your lives. He said he is one of the least racist people. He didn't say that he's racist. He didn't say that he's not racist. He said he's one of the least. So I like to make it clear to the world that the United States is not America, a corporation that was created and founded on our land. And the United States in all capital letters is only a 10-mile radius in the District of Columbia. I am an American. Donald Trump is an immigrant. He is a US citizen. We are the American Aborigines, the true Americans. So let us not allow these people to make us immigrants in our own home. Reads. Okay, give me a second here. Some more. It reads right here. There is hardly a racial term which has a clear and consistent meaning over time and space. For example, the term Indian or Indio has been applied to many peoples, including Indians of South Asia, or groups from the West Indies. Whoa, all groups from the West Indies. Hold up, Jamaicans. Hold up, Haiti, Sakpase, Mabule, what's going on? I thought the West Indies, they just told you you are the West Indian. And sisters, Rastafari, why y'all think y'all from Africa when they tell you you are the Indians? Why is that? Is it because y'all don't read? Or maybe you read without comprehension? Why they are telling you that you are the West Indies, the West Indians, the Indians? So why do you think you're from Africa? It is time to unite, people. And the East Indies, Filipinos, Chinese, even Chinese have been called Indians. Even Japanese have been called Indians, etc. Negro has been applied to Black Africans, Native Americans, even Japanese were called Negroes and slaves of whatever ancestry. So what are y'all telling me, man? Here it is in black and white. It was also applied to Black Africans, Indians of India, Native Americans, which is us. That's why they call us Negroes sometimes. Even Japanese were called Negroes. Did y'all know that? Of whatever ancestry were called. Let us continue here. It says, and black has been used for all of the above for non-whites in general. So anytime you're not considered so-called white, of that white pedigree, black. Just like how the Moors going around talking about everybody's a Moor, because they're just replacing the word black with Moor. I am not black, I am not a Moor. I am an American Aborigine, the copper-colored races that was found here by the Europeans. It says, by the way of illustration, in attempting to grapple with the problem of Black African Native American mixture, and especially with the question of to what extent African Americans throughout the Americas are part American Indian, necessary to focus upon a classification of such racial or ethnic terms as were used in the colonial and early national periods. It says key terms include mulatto, pado, colored, free colored. Oh, how many of your upper one sisters were called free colored and Negroes? Zambo or Zambo, Mosti, Mestozo. As noted, many modern writers, whether popular or scholarly, have simply assumed that they could transfer 16th, 18th century racial terms to contemporary usage without any critical examination of meaning were used before and the definition of the words. You have to go back to the mindset of the people of those times. They may have used the word and had a different meaning opposed to what we are using now. That's what the writer J.D. Forbes is explaining. It says, for example, it has been assumed generally that a mulatto of let us say 1600 would be of the same racial background as a mulatto of 1865 or of 1900s, or that a colored person of 1830 would be the same as a colored person of 1930. Since those are different, they have different meanings in different time periods. It has also been assumed that terms such as free Negro and free colored can be used interchangeably, and that one could, in more recent usage, substitute free black for either of these. Again, those are different terms on the different periods of times. It says many prominent writers have, it seems, been very lax in their failure to consider that the meaning of a word is never a timeless, eternal, constant, but rather is a constantly evolving, changing pointer. Of words is very important. Go to the root of the word, what it was meant to, not the meaning, but not the definition, but go look at the true meaning of the word, the root of the word. It says, this is where I'm at, where my cursor is at. It says, thus the word coach, as used in the 19th century, stagecoach or other horse-drawn vehicle, then later a railroad coach. Something different, for example, motor coach. And while we can trace the obvious connection between stagecoach, railway coach, and motor coach, it is still quite clear that we would be badly mistaken to interpret of 1840, for example, as meaning to get on the bus of 1960. And of course, the term coach has other meaning today aside from motor coach. So today, when we tell these people we have a right to travel our land, because we have an automobile or what you call a vehicle, it doesn't mean we need a license to travel our land. Because back in the days, what was our car? Our car was horses, dogs, and wolves when they used to pull us across our continent. We used canoes. We didn't need a license for that because we are the American Aborigines. So you cannot force us to assimilate to your construct of what you call your government. You're obligated to deal with us from a government to government basis. And this is where I'm at. Okay? So you could see. It says, we may think we know what the word Negro means today, but do we know what it meant in 1800 in Virginia? As colored, the answer to these questions is not and cannot be an exercise in the deductive logic or priori reasoning. It is rather an empirical problem which can only be solved by discovering through documentary and other evidence exactly how such terms were used. Easy task, for a reason which will become clearer later. In short, we cannot move historiographically from one word or concept to concept across the centuries. We must instead actually engage the primary data in order to touch reality. One of Sir Francis Drake's pilots, not an airline pilot, in 1595 was Isilino de Nacion, mulatto, and sailed from Plymouth, England, although being an islander in origin, as if he were a mulatto of 1981 or of 1900s. His precise racial background is not established by the use of the term mulatto, as we shall see. Certain from other evidence, if we can, what the Spanish author meant by his usage of this category. But we getting there, family. We getting there. It says during the summer of 1981, newspapers in the United States carried stories about blacks rioting in British cities. Tell their readers was that in Britain today the term black is applied not only to Africans or West Indians of whatever shade or mixture, but also to peoples from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and even to Latin Americans. Very light-skinned children, lady refugee living in Oxford was surprised to be referred to as a black. Spanish accent and immigrant status had caused her to become black, at least to some English contacts. I'm reading right here now. It says, I have before in me an appeal to drop all charges against black youth, which refers to the arrest of some young Asians in Bradford during the summer of 1981. I have before an appeal to drop all charges against black youth, which refers to the arrest of some young Asians in Bradford 1981. They call some Asians black. Wow, okay. Very interesting. This modern British usage, which extends well back into earlier years, reflects very vividly the problem of assuming that English terms such as black, Negro, mulatto, or colored can be interpreted easily when found in the documents of earlier eras. Here running around calling yourselves black. Guess what? Chinese were called black. Japanese were called black. People from Bangladesh were called black. So y'all better wake up right here. Okay? It says Europeans first established intensive contacts with Africans and part Africans. They met people with a great variety of physical characteristics. True in the Iberian Peninsula and Mediterranean era, but undoubtedly many of the Moors, many of the Moors and blackamoors who came to England in Shakespeare's day were of North African Saharan background and from many distinct nations. Okay? Moors are from Africa. They are not from America. Here it is in black and white. I gotta again explain that to y'all. It says, undoubtedly, many of the Moors and blackamoors who came to England in Shakespeare's day were of North as well as sub-Saharan and from many distinct nations. Moors are not aboriginal to the Americas. They came into our land, and as a matter of fact, they were one of the biggest race traders in our land, selling out my ancestors. So don't tell me this is Morocco. It has never been Morocco, and it will never be Morocco. It's still our land, not under my watch. I will continue to speak the truth. It says, later in the 16th and 17th centuries, diversity was also encountered, as when most English vessels sailing to the Caribbean dropped anchor at the Cabo Verde Islands. One writer in the 1647 commented on the extreme variability of the physical types met there, beauty of mixed Cabo Verde women. Therefore, that at the very beginning of modern period, racial terms as used by Iberians and as by acquired by the English were going to refer to part African peoples who might not only have the features of Gulf of Guinea available as they are, but also a combination of Central African, Ibero-African, Afro-Arabic, and American African mixtures. It is important to stress that many Africans from the Sahel or Savannah Belt, Hosa, etc., as well as from parts of East Africa, sometimes resemble American African hybrids, which various combinations of high cheekbones, prominent aquiline noses, and semi-wavy or bushy hair, oriental eye shapes, etc., that those peoples also look like us. The comparison is we are identified as a separate race of people. And I'm showing y'all that again in black and white. Okay? Why is this important? Simply because many part American African persons with no European ancestry could easily be subsumed under a racial term applicable to pure blood Africans and would not in any case be especially recognizable to most observers as being part American. The predominant physical type of the slaves brought in from Africa may have been that of coastal West Africa, but not enough variability that terms such as blackamoor or Negro and black cannot be priori be assumed to be useful for determining the precise genetic identity. So when you Moors talking about everybody's Moors, that's false. Many color terms such as dark, Swati, and brown are also quite ambiguous, as should be obvious. In a 1756 list of militia men in the King and Queen County, one finds in addition to fair complexion persons, Thomas Delaney as dark, Benjamin Wilson as dark, James Wilmore as brown, John Major as brown, John Kemp as swarthy with light hair and freckles, John Evans as dark, and Richard Riddle as dark, all or most of these men were born in Virginia and several were planters, American or part African, certainly we cannot judge their race from such color or reference alone. Similarly, in 1768, an advertisement appeared in New Jersey for an apprentice lad named John Foster, born in the Jerseys, about 5 feet 8, of dark complexion and pitted with the smallpox. Wears his hair with a false queue to it. In any case, the colonial and state courts in the United States frequently had difficulty in determining exactly racial status. The North Carolina court called in a planter as an expert who could distinguish between the descendants of a Negro and a white person and the descendants of a Negro and an Indian. He could also allegedly differentiate between a pure African and a white cross or an Indian cross. But let me ask you a question, right? Why is this? A planter could tell the difference between an African and American Indian. Obvious if the Indians were the so-called natives right now, those are two complete different people. One is pale, one is dark. So why do they need a specialist? Family, I hope you hear what I'm saying. Expert, a planter who's an expert that will be able to disseminate, to tell the difference between an African and an American Indian. If it was quite evident that the so-called natives that are here now are the original Indians. Why do they need an expert to tell the difference? You know why? It's because we all have the Negroid features. A lot of Africans look like us, and a lot of us look like them. To you right here in black and white. Okay? Unfortunately, most of us today lack that kind of certain expertise, wherever phenotypical features are seized upon an evidence of providing proof. You see, again, we are a different phenotype of people. It says, I'm reading here, in our efforts to reconstruct the story of Black African Native American relations, it is necessary then to begin with an analysis of evolution of the meaning of racial terms. For only this way can we hope to identify people of American and African ancestry in the past. Now, again, why is the narrative distinguishing between the African and the American? Why is that? If the natives, again, no disrespect to our native family, but I'm just proving that you guys are not the original people of this land. There wouldn't be so much effort into putting trying to point out the difference between you and the Africans, because it is so evident, because you are pale and they're dark, they are so-called black. So again, what is the effort? Who are these people they were trying to compare the Africans to? That is my questions to all of you who think y'all from Africa. That is my question. You see, I like to ask logical questions. You see, I teach, I give knowledge, and I explain things so that the child, even a child, could comprehend what I speak of. Right here. This is the real university right here. Okay? Not people telling you you're black and you're from Africa and selling you shirts about black and coming up with websites to bring black businesses together. That don't exist. Stop making yourself stateless and nationless. Advantage of your ignorance. And you know exactly the ones I'm speaking of. It says, the reader will find a great deal of social and cultural history of Afro-Americans and Native Americans in this work, woven together with broad social history as it relates to colonialism, racism. But the primary purpose of this study is not to write a comprehensive account of Native American African relations, but rather to establish a sound empirical and conceptual basis for further study in this area, and more importantly, to demonstrate beyond any doubt that all assumptions must be set aside. All assumptions, you see, the out of Africa theory, it's a theory. What is a theory? A theory is not based on facts or evidence. Those are assumptions, presumptions that life originated in Africa when it didn't. Again, that is a theory. Now, let me just take a quick intermission here. The definition of theory to the real understanding of words, because you see people, but I'm not just talking. Teach and getting hot. So let me just drink a little water because it's like, man, Chief, you're on fire. All right, theory, or a system of ideas in something, especially one based on general principles independent of things to be explained, a set of principles on which the practice of an activity is based, an idea or a situation or to justify a course of action. It's an idea. And where's the facts in the theory? Hmm? I have a theory. Okay, Darwinism, theory of evolution. Is that true? Is it fact? No, it's not a fact. Again, it's a theory. So let us not misconstrue a theory with facts. Okay, fact, different words. So now we look at a theory. So we know that the African theory is a theory. It's a fact. Fact definition. A thing that is indisputably the case. Theory. A theory is assumption, supposition. Okay, I assume, you know what, I have a theory. This may be that, that may be that. But now I am telling you facts. The fact that the American Aborigine have been here. We didn't come from Africa. And I am proving to you the facts, not a theory. Okay, that's the difference between teachers and people who call themselves teachers. It says, this latter is especially true to regards to the extent of the North American mixture and an Afro population in the Caribbean, Brazil, and the United States and elsewhere. In the United States and elsewhere, right? And more specifically to the study of formation of plantation Creole and colonial cultures in the Americas and elsewhere. Because of the data presented herein, a great deal of revision will have to be made in these areas, as well as the field studying the evolution of modern African, Afro-American, and Native American cultures. I hope that this study of therenic contact and relation classifying will lead to progress in the field of human rights by highlighting and classifying, or clarifying rather, a major area of abuse, the arbitrary and often racist practice of defining the identities of other human beings by powerful outsiders as well as by governments and institutions. You see, that is what they have done to us. The American Aborigines, we have been facing genocide from the moment these people came in contact with us, when they didn't know our world existed. Yes, we were doing commerce and business and trading and bartering. We were doing that with Europe, Asia, way before Caucasians came into our lands. Okay, I'm just going to read a little bit more and then I put all that stuff in the link below. You could go do your reading yourself. But it says, 1, Africans and Americans intercontinental contacts across the Atlantic in Americans across the Great Atlantic before Columbus. Americans across the Great Atlantic before Columbus. Y'all gonna learn today. It says, the meeting of Native Americans and Africans, of people from 2 great continents of the earth, can be described in many ways. Now, people, 2 great continents, the Native American and the Africans. Now, I have already showed you guys who the true Native Americans are. But we are not using the term native today because, as you see, what native meant back then is not what it means now. Now, the United States have adapted the term native to the Mongoloid-looking race of people and calling them the natives of this land. All right? But the American Aborigines, so when I see the meeting of Native Americans, I'm going to say American Aborigines and Africans because they are talking about my ancestors. So I'm going to start this over. It says, the Aborigine Americans and Africans, of people from two great continents of the earth, can be described in many ways. A fitting which to begin is to cite Aboriginal American story from Guyana, presented by John Caro, in which Neon, an African sky spirit, along with the African earth mother, the African river mother, and Anansi, the spider trickster, met the great spirit in the father son, spirit powers of the Americas. It says, all the peoples of earth complained to the father son, and for the first time, the ebony people, who were neighbors of Tihana, made themselves heard. Now let us look at let's see, let's just see here for a second. Ebony, ebony, ebony. If I were to look for a second, and let me just see images of it look like. Because if I recall, there was a magazine called Ebony, and there were people who looked just like us. You know what I'm saying? That's why Stevie Wonder says, Ebony, read together, but so, right? Those are right here, ebony. If in the narrative of the ebony, who are they speaking of? Who are they speaking of, my brothers and sisters? Huh? That's what I want to know. To share this dominance, African spirits agreed on the condition that the Great Spirit in turn shared the distant kingdoms of earth and sky that Neon ruled. American child of the sun, and the Tihona, the mist woman, became a brother to Anansi, the spider woman, and both agreed to live among human beings. Powers of the Black Africans are said to have established a close with the spirit powers of the Americas. Like I told y'all before, Africans were considered black and we were considered red, the copper-colored races. Yes, y'all may be black. That means you're an African. And if that's what you want to be, that's fine. But just know that in America, black doesn't exist within law. It means that you are dead. It means that Africans are dead within law in our land. Africans, the real Africans, come here. The census recognized them as a status of being white. But yet still, y'all here want to be black and want to be African. That's why you are nationless. But those who have ears, let them hear. And those who have eyes, let them read. People of the Most High perish for the lack of knowledge. So when Africans come here, their status is white. But you want to be from Africa in your own land and call yourself black, making yourself nationless. It says, this same cooperation and reciprocal relationship can also be seen in Brazil, where Tupinamba and Guarani, Candomblés exist side by side with those Congo, Angolan, and Nago orientation, and where American Aborigines and African spiritual powers are called upon for assistance in various contexts, showing that Africans and the American Aborigines lived side to side in our land. Yes, a lot of us do have African ancestry because they mixed with our people. But why are you guys continuously abandoning the American Aborigine side of who you are in your own land and claiming to a foreign jurisdiction that has nothing to do with you? They're not coming to get you. They're not coming to rescue you. It says, of African American contact can also be seen in painting by the Dutch artist Jan Steen, 1645, in which the making of a marriage contract in the Netherlands area is depicted. Bride's groom is of African ancestry, while a man of American race is an active onlooker on the right-hand side of the scene. Now let me ask you a question again. Is from the American race. Like I said, we are a different race of people, my brothers and sisters. If the man is from an African race and the woman is from an African race, but yet still they have the same complexion. So who is that African race? Who is the American people they're talking about? For natives, because obviously they're talking about ebony people right now. So I'm asking you, where did this American man came from? If he didn't come from Africa? Sky? Oh, well, guess what? Yes, we did. Because from the moment we dropped from the spiritual realm, we have always been here. So I'm just proving to you again to debunk the lies of your so-called teachers on YouTube, continuously promoting you into perpetual slavery by calling you Black and African American because it's making them money. I am giving y'all the real knowledge. So y'all please support Chief because Chief is dropping the jewels. All right. It says the bride of this European Dutch background, lost in spirit, in spiritual as well as secular context, the American and African peoples have interacted with each other in a variety of settings and situations. Wow. Showing the relation between us, the American race, and the African race. We are two different people. We are two different phenotypes. Yes, we both have Negroid features, but we are two different people. But the truth of the matter is we need to come together as the Negroid features with Negroid features to combat the common enemy that we have. We should not allow us being of a different pedigree. We have the same oppressor. And I am for that. But I am for it being who I am. I don't have to be an African because I'm not. I am an American Aborigine. But I don't mind standing in solidarity with my African brothers and fight these people who are trying to destroy us. Not trying, they are destroying us. Okay? It says, J.A. Rogers, Leo Weiner, Ivan Van Sertima, and others have cited evidence, including the Olmec stones heads of Mexico, pointing towards early contacts between American and African cultures. To explore the early archaeological evidence, which in essence requires a separate study, but instead I will cite briefly some tantalizing data which suggest contacts in both directions. It is now well known that the Atlantic Ocean contains a series of powerful rivers or currents which can facilitate the movement of floating objects from the Americas to Europe and Africa, as well as from the latter to the Americas. In the North Atlantic, the most prominent current is that of the Gulf Stream, which swings through the Caribbean and then moves in a northeasterly direction from Florida to the Grand Banks of Terra Nova, Newfoundland, turning them eastwards toward and the Bay of Biscay. This current has carried debris from Jamaica and the Caribbean to the Hebrides and Orkneys of Scotland. Moreover, Jean Marion tells us that valuable hardwood was commonly washed ashore along the coast of Ireland and Wales. This timber from the ocean borne to the Gulf Stream really came from the rivers of Mexico. Marion, a student of transatlantic navigation by small vessels, also states that the first success of crossing the Atlantic by one man could only come from the American side. Now, I'm going to repeat that again because I don't think y'all heard me. Okay? It is stated that, okay, Atlantic navigation, and I'm reading right here, by small vessels also states that the first success of crossing the Atlantic by one man could only come from the American side. American side. So I'm going to let y'all ponder on that thought here for a second. Tides and the winds, and now we are dealing with nature. Was nature in favor of millions and millions of Africans being brought to a land where they had nobody? Nature wasn't in favor of that. The tides were against that. People could have only gone from America, easily from America to the other side, but not the other way around. In the mindset of the time period of what they are talking about. Because the crossing is much less difficult in that direction. Now, it's not impossible, but it's a little more difficult. And remember, they didn't have those boats or them ships they have today with colors and, they didn't have those computers. They didn't have that. All right? It says, a French writer has said justly in all probability that if America had been the old world, its inhabitants would have discovered Europe long before we did. In fact, discover America. This is because of the prevailing winds from the west as well as the currents. Says Miriam sailed in a straight line from Boston via Newfoundland to Ireland or Cornwall with almost the certainty of fair winds. The other this direction requires twice the distance, thrice time, and four times the sweat. Now you hear that? It was easy to come from Boston to the Newfoundland into Ireland from the Americas. But now they're saying to come the other way around, coming into the Americas, it requires twice the distance, and then three times the time, and then four times the sweat. I mean, man. You see, I don't deal with propaganda. I don't deal with theories. I am showing you facts. That's what I'm presenting. It says, in the 1860s, a 48-foot long slope, Alice was navigated from North America to the Isle of Wight in less than 20 days with very favorable winds, and in recent times, a wooden raft was propelled from Canada to Northern Europe by means of this ocean river. Sea Jet cites the 68-day passage of one William Verity from Florida to Ireland in a 12-foot slope, as well as the crossing by two men from New York to Sicily Islands in 55 days in 17-foot dory powered only by oars. Only by oars. Okay, that's what they had those days. Those Gulf Stream demonstrably can propel small craft successfully from the Americas to Europe. Perhaps this is the explanation behind the local Dutch tradition that holds that in AD 849, one Zurich to found the coastal city of Zierikzee, and why the local people believed that he had arrived in an Inuit Greenland kayak, which was on display there for several centuries. The kayak may indeed not have been original craft, but it is very possibly points towards a genuine folk tradition of crossing the Atlantic. All right, I'm going to read a little bit more, then we'll stop soon. Again, I can't see what you guys are saying because I'm focused right now. I'll come back to on the chat in a minute. It says, in this context, it is also worth noting a report that Columbus had information about strange people from the West who had reached Ireland prior to 1492, doubtless via Gulf Stream. There was rumors that Christopher Columbus heard, okay, of a strange people. Who are these strange people? Yes, the American Aborigines. Yes, our ancestors had heard of us going into Ireland via the Gulf Stream. Miriam tells of us that Bartholomew or Christopher Columbus had made marginal notes in the copy of Pius II's Historia 1477 to the effect that some men have come from Cathay by heading east. And one remarkable thing, especially in Galway in Ireland, two people tied to Rex, a man and woman, a superb creator. Miriam also believes that the first documented case of single navigator crossing the Atlantic consists in native, well, let me rephrase that, American Aborigine who reached the Iberian Peninsula long before the days of Columbus. So in other words, we were already treading before this fool came here and talked about he discovered us. It says, in the Middle Ages, there arrived one day on the coast of Spain a man, red and strange, red and strange, in a craft described as a hollow tree. From the recorded description, which specifically states that he was not a Negro. The red man said he was not a Negro. He might well have been a Native American. Oh, well, let's just change that. An American Aborigine in a Paraguay. The unfortunate man, ill and enfeebled, died before he had been taught to make himself understood. Show you this again. It says, which specifically states that he was not a Negro. He was a red. Let us go again. Like I said, I like to show and prove. Let us look at red, Indian. To show and prove. You see, when people just talking, I just don't talk. In Crayola, red, Indian. I'm gonna show it to y'all, family. Again, Crayola, red, Indian. Crayola, red. Pay attention. That's what the man looked like. Specifically noted that he wasn't a Negro, but we were not Negroes. All the stuff right here. Okay, so just to show you all that, all right. Quick and go back to that. Okay, where am I at right now? Oh, go back here. To wrap this up in a minute, family. It says, okay, to return to our own discussion of the Gulf Stream, it should be noted that this eastward flowing current has a southern extension which swings towards along the west coast of Europe to the Iberian Peninsula and to the Canary Islands. It turns southwards and then westwards, returning to the Americas in the vicinity of Trinidad to the oh wow to the Americas in the vicinity of Trinidad. Oh, you're trying to tell me? Hold up. Okay. And rejoining the Caribbean segment of the Gulf Stream. So you're trying to tell me what? The Caribbean is in the Americas, but yet still you have Caribbean people thinking they are from Africa. Okay. Thus, it would be theoretically a great circle from the Caribbean to Europe and northwestern Africa and then back again to the Caribbean. North American archaeologist E.F. Greenman has argued that the crossing of the North Atlantic was feasible before the end of the Pliocene period or Pliocene period about 11,000 years ago for a people with kayaks and buhok or buthok type of canoe from Newfoundland if at that time the ocean was filled with floating ice from the Scandinavian and glaciers and from freezing of the sea itself. The same author attempts to show many parallels between Pliocene, European and American cultures, but sadly neglects African comparisons. In any case, his argument is based solely upon the hypothetical European movement towards the Americas, movements which would have had to fight against the currents and winds rather than flowing with them. In other words, it was easier to come from the Americas into those other places opposed to them coming into our land. Bartolome de las Casas, in his monumental Historia de las Indias, cites examples of rafts or canoes, almadillas, and debris reaching the Azores Islands before 1492. This evidence will be discussed below. Here it is only necessary to note that the Azores lay in an area of weak currents, but that even so, with the help of winds from the west and northwest, reach the islands from the Americas. In the South Atlantic, as noted, a strong current runs from the west coast of North Africa towards Trinidad. Below that, a counter current is sometimes shown running eastwards from South America to the Gulf of Guinea. Then a strong current runs westward from the mouth of the river Zaire Congo to the north of the Amazon, where it divides part joining the northeasterly current, which becomes the Gulf Stream, and part swinging along coast of Brazil until the veers eastwards across the Atlantic to Africa, again reaching southwestern Africa, from whence it curves towards to rejoin the Zaire Amazon current. In other words, they're telling you again, it was easier to come from the Americas and go to Africa and Europe here. Thus, as further north, a great circle is formed. Fundamentally, what we see are two great circular rivers in the ocean, in a clockwise direction, and the southern circle in a counterclockwise direction, with a smaller countercurrent in between running eastwards. In the South Atlantic, Americans might have reached Africa via the counter current, or more likely via Brazil to Southwest Africa current. used either the southern westwards swing of the North Atlantic Circle or the northern also westward swing of the South Atlantic Circle coming from Sierra Leone, Senegal, and region or the Congo-Angola region, respectively. The problems with the argument for early transatlantic crossing is that in the modern period, such islands as Iceland, Bermuda, the Azores, the Meridias, the Cabo Verdes, Tristan, the Conha, Ascension, and even Sao Tome of Nigeria and Cameroon were uninhabited prior to documented Irish, Neuse, and Portuguese occupations. Like I told y'all before, all of y'all who thinking y'all are from African or y'all are African, here it is again. And I have substantial proof that the original Nigerians are not even Africans. And okay, and from Sao Tome and Conha, Tristan, Cabo Verdes, all those places didn't have they were uninhabited. Okay, the Nigerians are the original Portuguese. Anybody that was wasteland, and Nigerians are actually Portuguese. But y'all don't hear me though. Y'all gonna learn today. For all of y'all thinking y'all African, are not even Africans because that land had no people. Period. On the other hand, some of these islands are small or far from major currents. Asa states that the Azores were the Isles Casaderiades mentioned by Strabo in his geography, and which islands were repeatedly visited by the Carthaginians. Allegedly, they lived in the Azores of people who were of Loro or Baco color, that is to say, people of color of Native Americans, huh? Let's just say American Aborigines or intermediate between white and black. The Canary Islands were inhabited in the 15th century by a people who were isolated from nearby Africa and whose culture somewhat resembled those of Americans. Moreover, the personal names of the many Canarians enslaved by the Spanish have a decidedly American ring. Though such resemblances do not always mean a great deal. The Canarios are sometimes described as a Loro or brownish colored people in slave registers. And I'm almost done with this. All right, it says the fact that the islands of Cabo Verde and Madeira were uninhabited in the 15th century does indeed pose a problem for African navigation to the Americas. However, that will be discussed later. Again, guys, a lot of the places in Africa were uninhabited. Take for instance Nigeria, okay, Sabo Verde. A lot of those places they didn't have people. Nigerians are from Portugal to Portuguese. I keep telling y'all that, but I'm showing y'all the proof. I'm showing y'all the proof. Wake up, get out of bed, wipe your eyes, brush your teeth. We got work to do. Okay? The fact that the islands, we read that already. It says the Americans of the Caribbean region were outstanding navigators. You hear that? The Americans of the Caribbean. So let me ask you, my Jamaican brothers and sisters, if you are in the Caribbean, how come you call yourself African? Or my IT family, if you're from Haiti and Haiti's in the Caribbean, Dominican Republic, Cuba, St. Vincent, Grenada, Antigua, if we are in the Americas and we were outstanding navigators, outstanding seamen, claiming who we are, American Aborigines, and noted by the Spaniards and other Europeans. It was noted by the Spaniards and other Europeans. Christopher Columbus was impressed. Wow, oh, we had skills, huh? He noted, for example, that their boots, bacos y baculos, which they call canoas, were excellently made from a single tree and long, carrying sometimes 40 or 50 men, 2 or more cados, perhaps a man breadth in width. The American boats were unsinkable, and if any storm they happened to capsize, the sailors simply turned them back, swimming in the sea. bailing out with the gods or with gods around for that purpose. Man, I'm telling you, we are brilliant people. You hear that? It says Andres Bernaldez recorded from Columbus that the Americans navigated in their canoes, agility and speed with 60 to 80 men in them, each with an oar, and they went by sea 150 leagues or more. Have this sport now where they have boats and they have 10 or 15, 20 men in boats and they race in as a sport. They learned that from us. We did that with canoes centuries before even Columbus. It says they were master of the seas. A canoe was later discovered in Jamaica, which was 96 feet long, 8 feet broad, made from a singular tree. My Jamaican brothers and sisters in America, Jamaica is in America, and you are American Aborigines. You are not Africans. The Locoyo peoples of Bahamas were not only very well acquainted with Cuba away via canoe, but also knew that from Cuba it was 10 days journey to the mainland, doubtless Mexico or South America, since Florida would have been closer than that. He also saw a boat 95 palms long, in which 150 could be contained and navigate. Others were seen which were of great workmanship and beauty, being expertly carved. A canoe was also seen being navigated successfully by one man in high winds and rough sea. That's our people, yes. Haiti, Haiti, comment est ça passé? At Haiti, Columbus learned that the island or Jamaica was 10 days journey distant from the mainland. And when I say the mainland, they're talking about the United States, what they call the United States, and that the people were clothed, thus referring to Mexico or Yucatan, most likely in another place he learned of a land 1,000 leagues away where gold was mined. Gold, oh yes, we had gold. The Arawak and the Carib speaking peoples of the Caribbean, hence the Caribbean, because the name the Caribbean after my people, okay, were well informed geographically. Columbus captured Caribs in the Antilles, such as Guadeloupe. My country is between Guadeloupe and Martinique. We are the same people from whom he learned of the South American mainland, but also learned of the mainland from the Americas, living on St. Croix and Borinquen, Puerto Rico. Borinquen, Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico wasn't called Puerto Rico then, it was called Borinquen. You hear that? People from the islands were living on the mainland. Why do you think a lot of my ancestors are actually Cherokee and Choctaw? And I was born in Dominica, but I'm trying to let y'all see the picture and the coherence between our people, the relation between the mainland, the Caribbean, and Central America. We were one people. Infiltrate and separate us, and now we are here being taken advantage of in our own land. Again, this is a call to action. It is time for the American Aborigines, the entire American continent, to wake up. It says that the geography of the Caribbean basin and the Bahamas, including that of the adjacent mainland, was accurately known to the Americans. Wow. All those things geographically, I'm talking about to a T, precise information, is because we were traveling our lands. We have these people preventing us from traveling our own lands, telling our people, American Aborigines, they need green cards to come into their own land. Y'all better wake up. Moreover, it seems clear that voyages of 60 to 150 leagues were undertaken about 180 to 450 miles, figured conservatively at 3 miles per league, although the Spanish Nautical League often exceeded that distance. When Spaniards reached the area of Yucatan in 1517 and again in 1518, they found that the Mayan people were already aware of what had transpired on islands invaded earlier by the Europeans. So how come the people of the Yucatan, people, which is our people, the same people, how did they know about the Europeans before the Europeans got to them? It's because we are one people. We had ways of communicating. Today, for all y'all want to be so-called black, okay, etc. It says the Maya were uniformly hostile and Campeche signs with their hands to find out whether we came from the direction of the sunrise, repeating the word Castellan, Castellan. And we did not understand what they meant by Castellan. In the latter year, the Spaniards met an American woman from Jamaica. An American woman from Jamaica. You meant to tell me Jamaicans are Americans? I didn't know that. Oh, well, I guess I know. I'm just being on the island of Gazomel. She told them she had started from Jamaica with 10 Indians in a large canoe. But hold up, started from Jamaica with 10 Indians? So how come them Jamaican things say them African? Oh, that's what they told y'all, huh? All right, but guess what? Chief is here to drop the knowledge today. With 10 Indians in a large canoe intending to go and fish near some small islands, had carried them over to this island where they had been driven ashore, and that her husband and all the Jamaican Indians, you mean Jamaican Indians? They got Indians in Jamaica? All right, had been killed and sacrificed. So now when you hear Indians, I bet y'all thinking of the Hollywood Indians, huh? I just showed y'all what Indian means, okay? The aboriginals of the land. I showed you the color, the complexion of the red Indian, what it means. And I'm showing and prove, I'm giving the facts. You're almost done with this chapter and then I'm going to stop. It seems more likely that the Jamaicans had fled from their home to avoid Spanish slave raiders and they did not want to fall under European control. Hence her story. In any case, all of the Maya towns along the coast in 1517 were well aware of the threat posed by the Spaniards. This news could have been conveyed by 2 Spaniards living among them, but whatever the source, the news had spread very widely. And for our purposes, is the fact that when the Spaniards reached the Yucatan in 1517, they saw 10 large canoes called periquas full of Indians from the town approaching us with oars and sails. You trying to tell me the Yucatan were Indians as well? Or you talking about those were my ancestors as well? Wow. Oh, I'm so touched. The canoes were large, ones made like hollow through troughs, cleverly huge single logs, and many of them would hold 40 Indians. 40 Indians. They didn't say 40 Africans. No, 40 of my ancestors. These boats were equipped with sails to indeed interesting because it means that wind power could be used to run against currents or to navigate rapidly even where currents were lacking. Clinton R. Edwards also cites other evidence documenting the use of sails by Carib ancestors, the Caribs. They had sails as well. Oh, and they said we were stupid and ignorant, huh? And other American peoples in the Caribbean. American peoples in the Caribbean. There we go again. And by Ecuadorian, North Peruvian sailors in the Pacific, both at the time of initial Spanish contact. As an example of the navigational capabilities of the Caribbean natives, case in 1516, when 70 or 80 Spaniards in a caravel and Berkantine brig sailed from Santiago de Cuba to the Guanaxa Islands of Honduras, now Rotan, saved many Guanaxa people and carried them in the caravel to Havana, Cuba. So let me ask you a question, right? Like I told y'all before, they are taking our people, bringing them to different parts of the Caribbean, different parts of the mainland, and making them slaves, and y'all think they came from Africa. But y'all gonna learn today. The Americans were subsequently able to overcome their Spaniard guards, seizing the sailing ship haciendos a la vela, call se fueran expertos navegantes volvieron a su patria que destaba más de 200 leguas. In short, the Americans were such expert navigators that they were able to sail from Havana to Honduras, a distance of more of 200 leagues, in a European vessel with no assistance from any other Americans, and this below decks during their journey to Havana. Navigational capabilities of the Americans of the Caribbean, man, my ancestors were geniuses. Mexican coastal area extended back well into pre-Columbian times, as attested to by pictures of boats found in various codices, murals, and sculptured walls in the Mexico-Yucatan region. In about the 10th century AD, also Mexican leader Quetzalcoatl is recorded as having sailed with a raft to the rising sun from the Gulf Coast of central Mexico. Along the Atlantic of North America, Americans also went out to sea. On the coast, for example, the Sioux outfitted boats with sails, and on one occasion, a group of natives, well, I'm going to say American Aborigines, decided to visit England. You trying, oh wow, we visited England, huh? Outfitted a canoe with sails and went out into the Atlantic, but were picked up by a British vessel and sold as slaves. Now, let me ask you a question, right? If our ancestors got into a canoe from the Carolinas to the British, okay, they were going to Britain. How they know they was going to Britain if they hadn't done it before? So once again, our ancestors were traveling the world before they came here and tried to deem us as savages. We were skilled seamen. Okay? In 1524, Varazona saw a dugout boats outside of Chesapeake Bay, which were 20 feet long, while canoes were seen in Narragansett Bay going out to sea with 14 or 15 men in them. One report of latter date states that Americans navigated between New Jersey and Chesapeake Bay using canoes specially fitted out with sails and decks. Boats and ships, okay? But when they want to go a distance over the sea, as far, for instance, to Virginia or New Holland, then they fastened two punts canoes dugouts together broadwise with timbers over them, right strongly put together, the deck made completely tight and sideboard of planks, sails of rugs and frieze clothes joined together, ropes and tackle made of bast and slender spruce rods. And they also masoned a little fireplace on deck. That's what I'm talking about. We had our own fireplace on deck. So all these ideas that these people are talking about right now with their cruises, man, we was doing that even before Columbus and his nasty self come to our land talking about he discover us. I ain't got no respect for that man. All right. It says to the south along the Brazilian coast, the Portuguese and other Europeans also witnessed Americans and Italian traveling with Mandalang in 1519 noted that the Brazilians' boats were made from the trunk of trees and were so large that each boat held 30 to 40 men. In the 1550s, Hans that the dugout boats of Santos, Rio de Janeiro area could hold up to 30 men, were 4 feet in width, with some being larger and some smaller. In these, they move rapidly with oars, navigating with them as far as they wish. When the sea is rough, they take the canoes ashore until good weather comes again. They do not go more than 2 leagues straight out to sea, but along the coast they navigate far. 1565, the Jesuit Jose de Anchieta stated that the Americans of the same region had dozens or more canoes made from a single tree with other pieces of the same cotton used as boards well attached with vines. They were large enough to carry 20 to 30 to 25 persons with their arms and supplies, and some held up to 30 persons. With these boats, they were able to cross such fierce, bravious sea that is frightful thing and not to be imagined or believed without seeing. And Chiata also noted that if the canoes turned over, the navigator simply bailed out the boat, turned it upside down, and carried on. The Brazilian boats were also very well made, were very fast and maneuverable, and could be sea if necessary, or raided at sea if necessary. They were used to carry warriors and supplies over considerable distance along the coast, as for example from Santos São Vicente to Rio de Janeiro. It appears that the Americans of the Caribbean built the biggest boats and were most accustomed to going far out to sea, while the Atlantic coastal groups were more oriented to staying within a certain distance of land, 6 miles or so. all were capable of being carried out to the sea by strong winds and currents and yet survive in rough water. It should also be noted that several groups on the coast manufactured seaworthy craft and were capable of reaching Polynesia by means of favorable currents. Of this study to discuss such voyages, but one must note that many Pacific Island people may very well be of American ancestry mixed with varying proportions of Oceanic Negroid, Africans, and Malayo-Indonesian stock. In other words, again, we are our own identified race, okay? And people are also mixed with us. It is interesting to note that there is some additional evidence to support the notion that the Americans crossed in an easterly direction. For example, Pliny, in his natural history, reported that Nepos de Septentriani Quito Tradet Quanto, whatever that means, y'all could read it. It's saying that thus we learn that the Cornelius Nepos, an author of several works in the last century, and virtually a contemporary observer recorded that as to the northern circuit of the sea, that Quantos, colleagues of Africanos in the consulship of Rome, but at the time proconsul of Gaul, south of the Alps, received from the king a present of Indians who on a trade voyage had been carried off by storms to Germany. And that's why a lot of our artifacts are in those places, because we went all over the world. To interpret this event, which occurred about 60 BC, we must keep in mind that for Pliny, Germany commenced far to the south of Denmark, that it in Belgium, Netherlands region, most likely, Pliny states that in the time of Augustus, class fleet sailed around Germany to the promontory of Cimbri in Denmark. Also, Pliny believed that the Indios had reached a Germanic-speaking zone by way of fictitious sea, which was though by him to have connected India with the Baltic. We know, however, that the only way that people looking like Indians could have been driven by a storm to northern Europe would have been across the Atlantic from America. Y'all heard that? It should also be noted that Survey group of Germanic-speaking tribes is thought by some to have included the Angels, people living in a later date along the North Sea of Germany. Several later writers, citing the Nepos account, assume that the Indians were driven across the Atlantic. Certainly, there is no reason to doubt that the builders of Teotihuacan and the Olmecs were engaged in widespread trade, or that they will possess navigational capabilities, to mention only two American groups, 16 BC time period. To conclude the reading here, but you guys, the book is in the link below. You guys could go ahead and read it for yourselves. But just to show you that, again, giving you proof, being here. Okay, we didn't come here from Africa. We are a distinctive race of people. Okay, read the information. It's there. Study to show yourself improve. It is time for the American Aborigines, the entire American continent, to unite together, come together, and then unite with our African brothers and sisters so that we could rid of these parasites that's here destroying our people, stealing our lands, calling us immigrants in our own home. Now, before we go, I'm going to show y'all something real quick. The Pyramid of the Sun. Okay? All that, the link is below. The Pyramid of the Sun is the largest building believed to have constructed about 200 CE, and one of the largest in the Mesoamerican, found along the Avenue of the Dead, in between the Pyramid of the Moon, and the Pyramid of the Sun. Y'all better wake up. Okay, wake up, family. Research your story. Don't let people teach your children who they are. It is your responsibility. The Pyramid of the Sun is the largest building in the Teotihuacan, believed to have been constructed about 200 CE. And we also have the Pyramid of the Moon. this other one here. Okay? All that is in the link below. Cholula. All right, Cholula. The Great Pyramid of Cholula, also known as the Chihotepiti, for Made by Hand Mountain, is a huge complex located in Cholula, Pueblo, Mexico. It is the largest archaeological site of pyramid temple in the New World, and as well as the largest pyramid known to exist in the world today. I mean, how much more evidence can I show y'all? The largest pyramid in the world to be known in the world today is on our land. It's on our land. I rest my case. I rest my case. Enjoy this. Part of this is, to drop the knowledge to the people, man. What it is, okay? This is all about showing y'all the proof of who we are. All I could do is show you the information to do your due diligence. Your children as to who we are, family. I could only show you the information. All right. I am here with my brother, Dot Man. Much respect. I'm here with my brother Kafira. We bring the truth to the people. Okay? We bring the truth to the people, family. We are the American Aborigines. We are our own race. We have to stand up and step up as the American Aborigines, nothing else. We are not going to call ourselves African Americans, call ourselves blacks. That's not who we are. As a matter of fact, yes, we are AKA American Indians, but we are American Aborigines, also known as American Indians. But we are the American Aborigines. So I'm asking IET, brothers and sisters, to stand up. Let us claim our birthright. Who we are. We are one people. Haitians, Dominicans, Trinidad, Martinique, Dominica, St. Vincent, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Haiti, Venezuela. It is time for us to unite. We are one people. And all our brothers and sisters, all the American Aborigines in England, Britain, let's rise, the Arawak, the Taino, the Carib. I don't care if you call yourself Choctaw, Cherokee, Blackfoot, Lenape, it doesn't matter. The Creek people. And we have to stand up and unite as one people. Is the only way we are going to make this thing happen. It is the only way. Divided we fall, family. The time is now. The time is now. So with that being said, I'm going to end this live feed. I'm not sure if my brother Datman want to add anything. If you want to add anything, I don't know if my brother Kafai will want to add anything now, but brother, we're just gonna move some chairs. Come over here, so So this is my brother Datman. We're here together.
Peace, everyone. To also add in, when he was speaking of the Tahuti Tekan, right? Tahuti Tekan is also the oldest form of Tahuti, which is here in Tahuti Tekan is also the oldest form of Tahuti Americas. It's not in Africa. It's not in Kemet. Remember, what they call Egypt is not Egypt. Georgia is Egypt. That's Georgia here in America. They changed it to Georgia and changed Kemet to Egypt to show you how they mess with us. So the bait and switch tactic to take us away from our lands, to have us to identify with a culture and an identity that is not ours. Lately, there's been a lot of Africans making videos talking about Jamaica is the eye of Africa, or, come back home. Those are agents. Do not follow them. Don't listen up to them. Do not believe them. They know who you are, and they know who they are Africans. You understand me? Asians, Chinese, or Africans. They're all Asiatics, Eurasians, thing together. So they know who they are. It is just a game to get us to disidentify with our land so that they could put eminent domain and take our land. um, if you watch and really study what's going on over there in the Middle East, a lot of those who they call the Jews and the Arabs, they're losing power. Also scramble to also hold on to, which is why we're seeing a great land grab here now. All right, so everyone just do your due diligence. Just all you got to do just pick up a book and read. Go to Vital Records, learn your family history. That's all you have to do. They don't hide this stuff from you. It's in your face. Keeping you away from learning the truth is that pro-black community, that Pan-African community. They keeping you away from knowing who you are. You must understand that pro-black Pan-African community was infiltrated by the feds in the 50s and the 60s. So it's no longer for you. It was never for you. It was a ploy by the Boule Society for you to identify as who you are supposed to be. And this is why our people is within the situation that we are in today. And this is why we have so much backfighting and bickering going on amongst each other, and why you see a lot of movements going on in Chicago, Detroit, Jersey, New York, all these places that you see them about to implement martial law. Understand? Now that they speaking of UN troops coming to Chicago, I haven't heard nothing from them. Have you guys? No. Ancient societies, get back to your ancestry and who you are. All you got to do is open up a book and read. Go down to Vital Records and study. If your ancestry go back more than generations, you are from here. You are from the Americas.
Absolutely. And so I appreciate that addition, brother. Um, my brother Kafira, who's also a member of our nation, and of course, he's a member of our nation as well. But we have brother Kafira. He want to drop a little something. Go ahead, brother.
Um, I like to speak out specifically to the people in the Caribbean, especially those in Jamaica, right? Chief Colonel and Darmanex is informing you about, right? It's totally facts, it's logic, 100% logic. If you have any doubt, like you said, you can go and research. This is real. You're not from Africa, right? Your ancestors are not Kunta Kente or none of that. You understand? Most of these people that are preaching the back to Africa and repatriation, they're agents. If you ask yourself and save you, why you can't go back there and claim anything? Because you're not from there, right?
All right, cool. All right, I appreciate that, brother. Thanks for that, addition right here. So that's, one of our brothers, who's part of our nation. He's, he was born on the island of Jamaica, and what we're doing, man. That's what our nation is about. Our nation is about American Aborigines as who we are. You feel me? So I'm gonna end this, right here, like I said. But before I go, I just want to, again, drop a couple more facts for you guys right before I go, because I want to give you enough so that you could study. This is real, okay? This is the real knowledge that our people need to know. All right, not us again, not theories. Okay, we are bringing facts. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen again, and we go here to Google, and we're gonna go look at a couple of things. Prove, I like to show and prove. I just don't like to talk about it. We're gonna look at right here. First off, I'm certainly sure I have showed you guys this before. Definition. Okay. As a matter of fact, let me just pull up the internet is bugging. Webster, right? Noah Webster. Webster, 1828 dictionary. Okay? To not just talk about it, but be able to show and prove. All right, so we have the Noah's Webster's 18 dictionary. Okay, let's look at all dictionary. And we're going to go to the link again, the definition of American, because a lot of people, we gotta do more than just on these YouTube channels because we are bored. Let us fact check. Let us fact check what people are saying. Africans. Okay, let us get away from the theory because I could debunk everything that they are saying. And that goes so far back. People don't even know where we came from. That's how American continent. That's how long we have been on the American continent. Again, here we go. Noah's 1828 dictionary. Now, if slavery was in the Americas and in 1828, slavery was in full swing in the US, a dictionary, such a prominent dictionary, such as the Webster's Dictionary of 1828, is given that definition of American. A native of America to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants born, meaning that they took your place. They took your place. It is time to stand up, take back our birthright. Now, let us stop talking about it. Too many people who want to talk about who was here first. We know we were here first. My question to you is, what are we doing now? Definition of American in the Noah's Webster's 18th dictionary. Now let us look at the etymology of the word American. You see, we have to look at those things of American. So we look at the definition. Okay, the definition is different from, they show you the definition, meaning that that's what they say it means. But let's look at the root of the word, the etymology. We're not just talking about a definition, the intent, the word was created. Looking at right now. All right. Once again, bear with me. I'm using the hotspot on my phone, so it looked like it's conking out a little bit, but I'm not gonna put that out there in the universe. Come on, give it to me. Go. Got to get it to the people. I'm looking at American, not America. Okay. American. All right. There we go. Okay. Beautiful. There we go. A noun. Originally one of the Aboriginal in the Western Hemisphere by the Europeans from modern Latin Americanos. And I could debunk that. The original sense is now Native Americans. The original sense is now Native American. They can't take our place. I'm gonna allow that. Okay, adjective. Give me a second here. The internet is bugging. Adjective, it says, pertaining to the Western Hemisphere and its Aboriginal inhabitants. Americanos, America. The sense is pertaining to the residents of North America. It says, but it's saying now of European, originally British. Again, showing you that they're taking their place. The descent is first recorded in 1640s. Yes. They didn't start calling themselves Americans until then. They came and started taking your place. So I'm just showing you again of who we are, and all that stuff is public information, and it's up to you to do the research. All right. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the lecture. All the link is in there below. Go ahead and study it. Do your own research, but this is a call to action. a call to action to wake up the American Aborigines. I'm talking about South, Central, South America, and the connecting islands, including so-called Black people and Africans in the United States. We are the American Aborigines. Stop being nationless. Stop being Black. Stop allowing Moors to tell you that you are from. This has never been Morocco and will never be Morocco. Stop falling for the trick of these people, and they will set up in place to distract us. I will do another video soon of one of the biggest distractions that's going to come, where they're going to play on the emotion of the American Aborigine. Women are the foundation of our nationhood, of our livelihood. Once they have our women, they have the children, hence they have the men. So that, but I just wanted to do this video, drop this information. Like I said, check out the link below. All the links are there. Please support the GoFundMe. I'm here with my brother Docman in Jersey. I am here with my brother Kafira, and that's what we do. Check out the link of our website, okay? Become part of what we are doing. Many families, but one people, one nation. Let us make this thing happen, family, okay? Black has no power, okay? So anybody who's on here calling us, calling our people Black, you will be blocked, okay? We don't do that here. Within law, they are dead, okay? So let us stand up as who we are, the American Aborigines. They took that out of the records because they didn't want us to know that there were Aborigines here in the Americas. Stepping up as to who we are, okay? And Black is not a description of me, okay? I am not Black. I am a copper-colored man, and they called us, all right? So with that being said, peace and love to each and every one of y'all. Again, check out the link below. Don't forget to check the website, family. Check out the website. All right. Check out my brother Docman channel. For those of you of my subscribers who are not subscribed, all right, let us get him up to 12,000, 15,000 subscribers, okay? Because the brother is dropping knowledge. So please go to his channel. And brother, do me a favor, put your channel in the link. Let the people know that I'm telling them to go to my brother channel and subscribe. Show him some love, because we are the ones that's here bringing the authentic information. I love you guys, and that's why I do what I do. Chief Kalanago, an American Aborigine. Check out the website in the link below, and please, family, don't forget to support the GoFundMe, because all I do it for you. All right? Love you guys. Peace and love, and I'm signing out. We'll talk soon.